Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of our Between the Lines book chat. And today we're going to start our segments on pet muses. Now, how much fun is that? We get to talk
Woohoo!
to four different
That's fun.
authors. Yeah, about their pet muses. I know you got a couple kitties over there, don't you, Michelle?
I do too. One is named Bastet Candace. That's right, Egyptian queen. That she
Ooh!
believes she is, and Precious. Yes, I've had many music. Fish. We had three guinea pigs and the two cats and a dog, but we only have the cats now. The other ones have
Oh,
gone on. Sorry, I
oh.
hate that,
Yeah,
but
I do too. I hate that
yeah.
too. Yeah, I had to do that
How
last.
about you? You've got a
Oh,
ranch.
well, yeah, I have what? I have nine hens, and they're laying eggs. And I
Gosh.
had to bring one in the house because I thought it was egg bound, so I had to bring it in the house, and put it in chicken spa. And the next morning, she got scrambled eggs, and she's just been my friend ever since. So, but yes, I have the two horses,
It's
and
like cannibalism. You serve the chicken fried eggs. Oh, come on.
yeah, they love it. They
Love it.
do. I know. I
I
know.
love
Oh, yeah, they're funny, but they're giving me lots of eggs, so I just keep them happy. But I have the two dogs. I have the wolf dog who was inspired the Dragon Horse saga, and then I have two horses now. Three of my other horses inspired the Dragon Horse saga, and they've all crossed over. But they're still here. They're still hanging around and
that.
checking in and out. And then I have one poodle left. I had two poodles. So Frodo is left. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he's my little yoga partner. When I do yoga, he has to lay on his back and do yoga with me.
Oh,
So,
he's on the yoga with you. I think that's so cool. Oh
so
my gosh.
yeah, so I'm just it's going to be fun. I'm glad you come up with the pet muses because it's really going to be interesting to talk to the authors. So,
Yes.
and our first author is Wade Christopher Quick. And he
Yes.
writes some very, very
Okay.
interesting books, and they're like a compendium of short stories. And most of his stories are based
Okay.
on like this magical orb. And I read his first book. Yeah, and he's a cat person, I can tell. Yes,
Is
and
he?
yes, he
Okay. Now, how can you
is.
tell a cat person?
Yeah,
Because I'm a cat person.
it's going to be really interesting to talk to him. Now, I don't know if he has physical cats because he was talking about cat spirit guides. So that's going to be interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
okay. Well, tell me, how can you tell if a person's a cat person? I
how
want to
can
know because I think I am.
how can
Yeah.
you?
How can you? How do you know? Yeah.
I you know. I, do you think I'm a cat
It's
person?
just like a vibe.
You know,
Or a dog person, or
I'm a dog
I don't
person.
know.
I don't
I
know.
can tell. Yeah, you're right. There's just a feeling about them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Sometimes cat people seem to be a little bit more on the creative side, or maybe uh
Well,
you
you're creative.
I don't know. Good question. We're, we'll figure
I
that out.
know, right?
Yeah,
So, someone out there,
yeah.
you make sure you put in the comments when you watch this if you know how, what type of person would have certain animals.
Right.
Is there some type of
Yeah,
vibe or something? I'm
right.
curious.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
we know that these be eggs and chickens.
Chicken. I'm
I
I'm
love
the
that.
yes, I'm
Just a chicken person.
the chicken whisperer.
Love
So,
it, Janice. You're
oh,
awesome.
okay. Well, should we bring on poor Wade? Now, Wade is having a little bit
We do.
technical difficulties. I was earlier, so
Okay.
he's actually in his car, I believe. So
Okay.
yeah,
On the
so
phone.
we do apologize if he does cut in and out, and that's technology these days. So let me, while you're talking, Michelle, I'll see if I can get Wade to come on.
Not a problem. Well, everyone, we just hope that you are enjoying our segments. We're so excited that these are the next set of installations, and we've got so much in the future. I know that we are going to be having in, I believe, May, a complete segment on bullying.
Yeah.
So look for that. And we're going to talk with authors that have been uses that in their stories, as well as hopefully children that that may have had that issue. Also, our book club in June, so we're excited. Wade, hello.
Hi, Wade. Wade's here.
Yay!
Can you hear us, Wade? He can see
I tell you,
us.
technology.
I know.
This is why I write steampunk, guys. Everything's my steam. You don't have to worry about it. Oh,
can you hear us?
Okay.
Okay, Wade. Great. Okay. Well, we're gonna.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so happy. Yes, and we did warn everybody that you're having a little bit issues with technology, so we'll do the best that we can.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Michelle, do you want to start off, or should we just let Wade introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself?
Okay. My name is Wade Christopher Quick, but as an author, I go by W.C. Quick. There's a lot of reasons I usually don't use Wade. Once because it was my dad's name and his father's name, and tradition. I traveled around the country a lot as a kid. My dad was a U.S. Air Force officer.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time in all the major bases and mostly in the East. Then Washington, D.C., he was assigned to the Pentagon for years, and I spent time in Alexandria in a little town called Falls Church, and I did a lot of woods hikes. I've been back there since, and there's no more woods. There's just concrete and brownstone brick buildings and everything, and it's a different world. A lot of what I write about is wood walks and rainy days in the
that sounds wonderful.
But thing is, a lot of that's just applied from memory for some of the stuff. However, now I travel around the country, mostly the Southwest, the deserts and the mountains. I try to get up above 7,000 feet in the summertime where it's cooler. A lot of pines, eastern Sierras, and the area around the Grand Canyon. And at any rate, it's somewhat inspirational to be out and about. Except at the Grand Canyon, there's mostly people.
Really? Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you, I just loved everything you just said. I'm inspired. I want to go out on a trek. But wait, how did you begin? You may have answered this somewhat. Begin writing. Was it a lifelong dream? Just
Yes,
a passion of yours?
I mean, most everyone I run into in this writing world has been writing since they were kids, and like me too. You don't get the courage or the faith in yourself to actually put it out there. And especially if you've been to college at all, it's such a competitive, grousing little group of people. And then many times you compare yourself to others who are miles ahead of you in the run. And so those are some of the reasons most of us hold back, as well as I. Although a lot of the stories that I have now are gleaned from stories I've had for 30, 40 years out there. Little bits of stuff, especially the thing about animals. If, I don't have any pets at the moment, but I pull up a lot from the cats and dogs that I've had that truly are spirit guides. Whether they speak to you or not is irrelevant. They do speak to us. We hear a lot from them growing up. Even the mild torment I put my collie through when she was younger. When I was younger, I used to pile army men all over her and use her fur for little hideouts and everything. And she was still in calm with me and everything. And I do remember that to this day. I must have been no older than 5 or 6 doing that. So I have an imagination that I put forward from that. Thank you.
I know it's when I think back when I was young and how I how I treated my animals and the poor kitties, and I just but I was a kid, and they just took it, and but with me, animals are my muse, and especially horses. And I am a dog person. I tried to be a cat person, but for some reason it just never works out. They die, or they get eaten, or the dog kills one of them. Yeah. So I mean,
you're not.
What?
The horse thing, bonding is something I've seen in 2 other authors here, especially on the Facebook authors groups, fantasy writers. There's a Diana Escabel, who is also she actually wrote a story, To Race the Wild Wind. It's a dystopian future novel. I don't mean to but she goes by Diana Joby Escabel, and she has horses which are mutated into different animals, but are still the spirit guides. Yeah. And I tried to find out from her that there is that close contact. There is that. She just says her horses are her true friends. She doesn't ride them anymore, and sadly a few of them have passed away, and I guess that's a god-awful experience when your good buddy dies like that. They're a true friend.
Yeah.
I never bonded too well with horses. My dad tried to get me to be an equestrian too young, and I just remember my legs straight out on a horse's saddle, butt sore and problematic experience.
I was always a little afraid of them, so I tried to get on them, but they were so big. So I'm more of a cat person. And do you happen to know, Wade, what draws people to certain animals? Do you have a thought on that? Denise is a dog.
I'm definitely a cat person. I'm also a Basset Hound fan, but they're a true heartbreaker. But cats have that independent aspect of the willingness to go out and die and forget about you or whatever it is. They don't. I've had a few very friendly cats, but for the most part, they've simply been there for me.
Yes.
I don't know if it's how to say it any better than that.
Their presence. They're just there.
Yeah, they come home and they want you to do something. They prompt you out of depression. They truly
they won't tolerate it.
Yeah, they want you to work. You're not moving fast enough.
Right.
It's that kind of thing. And the reminder of life. If you've ever wanted to read the paper in the morning and immediately have your cat sit on it as you open it, your computer, that's a perfect example, as the cat is in front of you, in front of the computer. And there's a reminder that life happens no matter what you choose. You're going to do this for sure, but something sits right in between you and what you're after. And a cat's a good reminder of that.
That is, I think they remember their time, in Egypt when they were gods. So they're reminded.
They'll never forget it.
Yes, they remember. So in your stories, how do you bring them in? You said that you infiltrate the cats, or put a little flavor in there about your cats.
I don't always bring in animals, but usually with my World of the Orb series, they are usually possessed. It's usually a cat that's the leader because they're smarter.
Of course.
They don't have that true loyalty thing that a dog does.
They don't. They're a little bit, they'll just rip the cord.
They make the perfect vessel for possession in that they can maintain an independence yet be guided to work the person they're after. Like, I'm working on another one called Cinderella Possessed, a short story which is added back into the worlds of the orb. But I've got a cinder black cat that has some physicality problems that Cinderella, who is from the world of the Fae and a defender of the Fae, and will use whatever method she can to save. Any rate, I won't get into that, but the possession of the cat is critical, but this cat's a problematic creature. It's
Aren't they
very,
all?
no, this cat has particular neurosis that she wasn't ready for when she possessed it. So it's a little bit different.
They're fun. It sounds awesome. That sounds awesome, your series.
Well, I think it's really interesting, how these animals are spirit guides, and we touched on it, that, when the animals cross over, they're not in their animal form anymore. So, so I kind of like that idea. You can still, even though if you write about your animal, like I did in Dragon Horse, sure, in the first book, he's a horse, and then the second book, he's a dragon, and in the third book, they're completely something different, So it's kind of interesting how, in the third dimensional world that we're in, we look at our animals as, the fur babies that are running around us, but I think it's, so I just think it's interesting.
They're more.
Yeah, and I just think that, for Wade, he doesn't have that actual cat running around his feet and it bothering him, but he's able to connect with that, in the spirit realm, So I just think that's really I think that's pretty cool that you can do that.
That's why writers are considered crazy.
Of course. I agree.
I've had several people review my book that were tremendously critical of fantasy in general, and liked the humor aspect of it, but they were, they're wondering how crazy I am. The things talking to people, and the cat pushing somebody around, or the the angles at which you go. And a lot of people are so linear in their thought process, and maybe I am somewhat fragmented in many ways, but the fact is that I find it so odd when I get reviews they're not bad. I'm not going to ever say a review is bad. It's their intake, and if I listen properly, I can get a lot out of any review. But it's interesting mostly to hear how people think and their relationship to animals. I mean, some people are really farmers. They didn't get a connection to anything in their life. It was really work, and it was rough. Right. The old timers. And it seems like hard work. I've been exposed a little of that, but not a tremendous amount of it. I've been more industrial in my life and did different things. And that I always needed that pet, or not so much pet as whether I resented their imposition of needing, it was good to have them around.
Yes.
Dogs are particularly interesting because they make you feel guilty if you don't take that attention, and the barking thing, that's another one. Anyway.
But the animals are a writer's best friend, correct? I mean, yes, they give that,
I would say yes.
All that writing fodder and that comfort.
I mean, in the wild, I've had run-ins with long-term stays somewhere where you have to learn how to deal with javelina. It's pretty aggressive. It's pig-like. They call them skunk pigs. They have a scent gland on any rate, but they smell like a skunk. Ooh. And they don't get as big as the thing, but they're really inquisitive, and they're a little dangerous. They have tusks and everything, the males, and they'll tear your tent to pieces. You can't even leave a payday peanut you know, in there, nothing. Go through both sides of your tent. But you get to respect them. And it's so funny that after a long enough period of time, you get out at night and you'll see a fellow camper off the side that has a dog. And then you'll go out in the dark to do your business or whatever it is. And there's a funny little fuzzy bristled face on your hand when you're off to the side of your vehicle or whatever it is. And you think it's your neighbor's dog. But no, it's a 200-pound javelina sniffing to see if you have anything to feed it. And it's pretty interesting. And it's kind of a frightening yet interesting experience that I can fold over into some of my stories and telling.
I like that.
That was interesting to say.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So is it?
No.
Who has been? Oh, is it you?
Go ahead.
Wait, who are some of the authors, maybe stories, that have influenced you in your work? They can have fur babies in them.
Tremendous number of stories. Not a whole lot of. There's Flannery O'Connor's always using animals from a different ends in that they're kind of representative of the devil, like the one was called the bull or the pasture or whatever it was, where she sets the scene to a prize bull or aggressive bull that somehow represents evil. And I thought that was an interesting take. And
That is.
God, I remember Hemingway, of course, although his animals were always for eating and stuff. You know, I don't mean to seem schlocky, but remember the Black Beauty series and all the would be more thoughtful as something a young woman or girl would read, but I read several of those. And I got a lot out of the bonding and you know, if you grow up in a dysfunctional household, you like to see that at least somebody's having a communication plus in their life. With a horse or a dog. The dog series, Lad a Dog. What's that, Thurber or what's his name? Anyway, he wrote a lot of stories about collies.
Oh.
Yes.
And the Lad a Dog series.
I was going to say Lassie, Benji.
Yeah. Benji,
I know that's cliche, but it's that exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that those are, you bond with these creatures, even if you don't have one, just to stay out of the craziness of your own home life. So that is something when reading different authors that I stuck with. You know, they gave me a good feeling to read their work.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, I grew up, I was such an introvert when I grew up. I like to read Walter Farley, you know, Black Stallion, the Red Stallion, you know, all of those. Yeah. So he would kind of inspired me, but, you know, I think, you know, animals like you guys are like cats, you know, cats, when you get into the healing world, cats actually will come and they will give healing. If you need healing, cats will give it to you. Yes. And dogs, actually, if there's anything going on with you, dogs will take that. They're like empaths. They'll take that within them. And, you know, so it's I guess, you know, whatever you need in the world is what you are going to attract. And, you know,
I agree.
Yeah, and in Wade's story, I know one of his stories he touches on how, you know, an animal was mistreated and what happened to this person, you know, in the end in this story. Yeah, and you know, and I think a lot of us have been there where, you know, we've seen something like that you know, and happen to an animal, and you know, a lot of us will go, well, karma will get you know, and then in Wade's story, the karma really did get this guy, you know.
It really did, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, Wade, it sounds like you were a military brat. And I just think growing up in the military probably wasn't a very easy childhood. So, do you think that your animal guides or your muses or, sometimes it's a way of self-discovery for us. They teach us, like my horses, they kept me sane in an insane world. And I'm just wondering if you think the same way, with animals. They're just not.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Everybody has the joke about the crazy cat lady, but she lives to be 90
That's me. Yeah.
and really doesn't want any people to come around anyway.
Yeah.
It's the worst times in her life have been involved with people. So the cats are, like I said, they are true healers of a lot of broken spirits. And I think that's true in some people with their dogs, although dogs, they'll suicide if you're weird enough.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they'll, take off. But you can't be too weird with a dog. Yeah. They won't handle it. I don't know about horses that way, but they might step on you if you're really too weird. Or maybe that's a good thing. Kick them hard enough in the head and they'll think differently.
But you're right about the cats. They can pretty much because they're not really paying much attention to us anyway. No, I'm just joking. I'm just looking at it a different way. I think there may be a reason why some people are attracted to certain animals. I mean, we love them all, but And I use good insights. I like that.
When I travel this lifestyle, I see a lot of people who've bonded with an animal, a travel companion. Usually it's a dog. Some people travel in their RVs with cats, which seems...
That's a hard thing to do.
But apparently the cat lives its whole existence in a small area and not complain much as long as it's getting what it needs. Yeah. I mean, you'll see some fool take the cat around the campground with a leash, and they're dragging that animal half the time. And of course, if you pick it up, if something barks or moves, you're going to get clawed. It's so weird. But, they love their animal. I mean, it's their buddy.
Do you think you'll ever use any other, animals in your stores? You specifically use cats. What else do you use?
I've been thinking about horses and dragons simply because they are really spiritual connections, and they go back into that realm of the Fae. And I forget, you may know this, that all the fairies and elves, and let's say they're real, and that they really did it, and that they went, I'm not going to admit this openly, but what is that realm they went to? There was a name starting with a K. It was there's a world that they went to, and they get some of it in Lord of the Rings. In that series, the elves cross the sea to another realm of existence in Tolkien stories.
Yeah, they just go into the West, but they go into the West, but. Horses and deer, if you're looking at the indigenous cultures, and Tolkien wrote a lot about the indigenous cultures. I mean, that's where the fairy people come from, is all the indigenous cultures. And the shamans, when they travel to the other world to do healings, they travel to the other world on the back of a horse or the back of a deer. And it's funny, Wade, that you should bring up horse and dragon, because horse is symbolic of life, death, and rebirth, and dragon is symbolic of resurrection. So that's
very cool.
Well, many people are drawn to symbolism, whether they realize it or not. They're drawn to things because it makes them happy at the core center. They may not even have the vocabulary to speak it. And it's an interesting attraction. And I think authors, a lot of times we think we're writing what we're thinking about, but maybe that's not true. Maybe we have something else is pushing this tale through us. So it's an interesting, again, we're crazy, so we can do it.
Yeah. It's fantasy. It's just fantasy.
That's right. So what do you do in your downtime? I mean, well, you travel. We know that. What are some of the other things you do? Hobbies or?
I play traditional music, banjo, mandolin, and guitar.
Oh,
I like
cool.
open. Been doing that for about 20 years. I started music early and then dropped it because it required practice. And then I find that I have plenty of time to practice now, and I write, and I like. I don't really write any music. That I took the time to learn scale and read music, but it really doesn't apply to banjo. You know, you always got the feel. What's that sound? You know, a lot of people like banjo. I'm just kidding. Then I do some dual sport motorcycle riding to check out trails and do stuff, but I've got some physical problems that keep me from taking too many challenges, and that'll probably end after a while. I don't want to get hurt. I've been hurt enough falling and all that stuff. A lot, these aren't real teeth, that kind of thing. But I really try to exist the way I want to be all the time. That means time for music, time for writing. I get into eating different things, making myself different nice little menus, but try to cut down a lot of bad foods, although that's relative as you get older. Everybody telling you what's bad. I don't know anybody that's lived forever, and I know a lot of people that have tied themselves up so much with the way they ought to be living that they don't live. So there's some things that are I'm mindful of enjoying my life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, my downtime, I like to read so much, and I don't, even though I have the 2 horses, I don't ride anymore. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like my relationship with them has evolved, and I feel so strange on their back. I'm a weirdo too, and I lost where was I going with this? Wade, I know you like to read. What are some of your favorite things that you like to read? Are you a nonfiction guy? Or are you a fantasy guy? Or
I was nonfiction for quite a while, simply because the engineering aspect of what I did for a living, welding and metal fab, I read quite a bit dealing with structure and just science of building and architecture and metalwork. But my whole life I've also liked science fiction, and there's a certain architecture to hard science writers, in which you brought up in the one, I think, with Laura Linda Donovan and her Children of Earth novel, and her series that I'm waiting for because I read that. She's a structured science kind of person, and I like reading her book. And of course I like Guy because of dragons and everything. But the writers, there's some I really truly hate, but I've read them simply because everybody said they're popular. I never liked anything by L. Ron Hubbard. I hate to say it, but he believes some weird stuff. But at any rate, that was, I don't mean to be that negative. I just didn't find his science construction. Some of it just plain, like, I like the opposing that Arthur C. Clarke's statement that future technology will be indistinguishable from magic was the coolest thing, and we're seeing it somewhat with this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, 40 years ago, would anybody have thought that you could do this?
Right.
this conversation we're having miles from one another about some really cool topics that we love, and only crazy people can see us.
Ooh, we are magic.
But no, I like Arthur C. Clarke's science. 2001 is the space opera kind of thing that I liked. There's Simmons, Dan Simmons. He does some hard science and some high fantasy science and some all fiction works, but he's a good guy. He originally started with a story called Carrie Comfort about psychic vampires. They survive off the misery of others. If you've ever read they create misery in order to feed off the misery energy, and he's really quite good at that.
That's the Illuminati. That's the Illuminati that's doing that. Yeah.
Feeding off the suffering of others.
Yeah, they're actually reptilians, and the reptilians are actually feeding off of the energy of hate and fear and anguish, and so I get into all that stuff too.
Cool. Well, wait, what is one, because we are getting a little low on time, what is, out of your stories, any of your books, what is one of your favorite scenes? And then also, which world would you like to live in, and why? It could be your stories.
I'd love to live in the world of the fairy, the world of Twilight, what I write about in Catania. I like that. That world, although it's safe in a certain sense, which is not good for a writer. We need to live in more high wind and volcanoes and rough places in order to get inspiration. I like beautiful forests and clear water and running streams, and I do like castles, and I like a lot of stuff about that living. Although I never lived in a castle, people say they're really cold.
But
it could be a good story to write about the disgruntled king. One of the best and the best characters I have, which I don't intend to write about too much, is Thomas from the Thunder, a novelette that I did that I have in the Worlds of the Orb. That the scenes with where Thomas tries to make sense out of things in his first meeting with Soraya, who in the Worlds of the Orb, they're meant to be together. Soraya meets him when he's 7, and he realizes she's older, but she's a fairy and she's small. I mean, short, but more like a woman than a kid, and he clams up immediately, realizing that he's not smart enough for the meeting right off the bat. But she is empath, and she makes it better for him. He's having a rough time, and the conversation is short but good. She saves his life, and it's a cool thing. So those are one of my characters. I don't want to tell the whole story. I've already. We all pretty much know our books by heart.
Yeah.
Because we've done it 1,000 times in the editing, and we even know the story that didn't get published.
Right.
So these are just things. And like I said, a lot of times when I go over what I did, I'm wasting my time. As writers, we need to keep writing forward. It's a pay it forward kind of reality. And a lot of people complain about whether their book's selling or they're not selling or whatever. They missing the point that we're supposed to keep writing our story and it'll get better.
I like that.
Yeah.
Never back down.
Yeah.
Never go back. You edit. Who says you don't edit? But yeah, try not to edit too much after you've released it. Yeah. At any rate, did that make sense?
It was perfect.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, you kind of answered my question, but your short stories. Okay, let's ask this. Any one of your short stories, would you like to expand on that and turn it into a novella or a novel?
Well, I made a attempt at putting together Beneath the Barn series was a novel, and I believe I called it. I blocked it out of my memory. It's a series of short stories. They're not really novel that are somewhat like the Worlds of the Orb in that they are loosely connected, but this was more tightly between two characters, the one Abner and Amy, who is Amanda from that young girl that's in Black Angel, Bark Angel, is the same girl grown, is a 18-year-old in The Kiss. At any rate, but those stories continue on, and I'm not. I read George R.R. Martin's mammoth novels, and I hate them. I've gotten to like the person, but I'm committed to reading every single one because it's like I have to see how this ends. And he's laughing all the way to the bank. He's a wonderful writer, but to tell you the truth, I can skip 300 pages to get where I'd rather read about in his stories, and he's wasted all that paper to me. It's like Jean. I don't mean to do I don't mean to be discrediting a wonderful author, Jean All was her name. She wrote The Clan of the Cave Bearer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mighty, she wrote 100 pages on flit napping, and basically what she's got is really entertaining parlor porn from the caveman era. And you just don't care about, this. It's like Michener's Hawaii. He builds the island for you for the first 100 pages.
Yeah.
The volcanic and all that. And he totally misses the human contact to any of it. Although another author since Bridges of Toko-Ri, I've read everything he wrote. So, but again, I wouldn't give anything he has more than 3 stars because it breaks the intensity of your reading experience to get into that. Like, where are we?
Yes.
That kind of thing.
It is incredible that many of the classic authors. It makes you wonder, would they pass? Far as
the old nun. Well, yeah, in some ways, but no.
Yeah.
There was a great movie with Daniel Day-Lewis called Last of the Mohicans.
Yes.
And there was an early starter, Fenimore Cooper, I guess, wrote that back in early 1800s, and it's turgid. And it's almost unreadable by modern standards.
Yeah.
So it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Well, Wade, thank you so much for joining us today. Oh my gosh, I've learned so much myself, and it was a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah.
One thing is, do you have one piece of advice for those that are just starting out? And also, where can everyone touch base with you, grab copies of your books?
Of course, there's Amazon and Kindle. I published my hard copies through CreateSpace, so they're out there both on. You can get them online through Barnes and Noble or Amazon Books. Like all of us, we're out there. But the thing I give to anybody writing is don't stop, and especially don't listen to people who are afraid to write. Only be around people who are hang around people that write, hang around people that have lived. Don't listen to people. If you're too young, I've got a lot of passion, but you shouldn't you shouldn't be pushed by that. Also, I hate to say it, but most people need to get a job and write because you're not going to get any money for a long time doing that. But yeah, don't quit your day job, but keep writing. It's incredibly important.
Love it. All right. Denise, you going to take us on now?
Am I taking us out? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I just want to thank you, Wade. I'm glad that the spirit guides were with us today and we had a good connection.
Yeah.
And And I think we did. We got some really great, insightful wisdom here today. And so please, stay tuned. Give the channel a subscribe and a like, and go and give Wade's page a like and follow him on Amazon. And we will, his book will be at the very beginning of the video. So if you need to look him up, we'll have that. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we will be talking to you soon.
Bye.